This video is sponsored by Boxy. Stick around till later to learn more.
So, we played Cyberpunk.
Yep.
What did you think?
Oh my god, it was so incredible! Yeah, the graphics and the driving and the shooting. My god, it was way better than Last of Us Part 2. Guys, okay. First of all, can we just say how chonk we have become in quarantine?
High-vis chonk.
This is extra large. This is double XL. We are glowing right now. That we have to turn this color down. We have to get some lights
We're
on.
the lollipop people.
We are the lollipop people.
We can actually ride a bike in this in the middle of the night and we will be fine. Everybody, we played Cyberpunk. It was so fun. Having said that, I do have some thoughts.
Here we go.
Now, I want to get this out of the way first to say that this was an extremely enjoyable experience. And I am so thoroughly pleased with what I did see, and I think that it is looking really good from what we've seen.
We played 5 hours of it, by the way.
5 hours.
That's a lot of hours.
So that's impressions, right?
That's we can do some proper impressions.
Usually impressions.
So first of all, there'll be some mild spoilers for the start of the game here in terms of just the opening blocks, because there are 3 different starter zone area quest things.
Yeah.
And we played all 3 of them based upon the backstory that you chose. So we played all 3 of those. We'll talk about them. Look, it's not massive spoilers because you're going to experience it in the first 30 minutes of the game anyway, and it's not like hugely revelatory stuff, but wanted to provide that spoiler warning anyway. We played 5 hours of it, all 3 of those zones. We played through, you know, the first 1 or 2 major quests in the game. We did heaps of open world exploration, or driving around, I should say.
Yep.
We looked at all the menus. We looked at heaps of shit, right? So we really had a good look at the first 5 hours of this game. What do you think? Off the top of your head, Sam, high level thoughts, go.
Okay, so if we're doing high level thoughts first, okay, the overview of this, it's extremely detailed. My God,
Unbelievable.
Every single area you look, it could be on a wall, it could be someone's bangles, it could be just anyone on the street that's just some silly NPC that you're never going to talk to.
Yeah.
It looks so. I don't think I've ever seen a game so realized. Like, it honestly feels like the most detailed world that we don't live in experience I've ever seen.
I actually agree with that. Like, I feel like, you know, The Last of Us 2, for example, is so detailed, but it's so narrowly focused. It's this very small number of environments, this very small number of people, and that's fine. Like, that's what the game is, by the way. But it's much easier to achieve that level of detail when you're sort of very narrowly focused. Not that The Last of Us 2 isn't a technical achievement, it absolutely is.
Yes.
Okay? However, this game, it feels like it has a single player level of detail in a game that is a 50 to 60 hour open world RPG. Like,
Definitely.
we just even walking into like a club, there's a bouncer on the door, and I was just had to stop and look at this bouncer, and I'm just like, holy shit! Look at this bouncer.
It was a very sexy female.
Okay,
and I just have to look at the detail. Oh wow, she looks.
She was like half robotic or whatever, and just
whatever
like,
floats your boat, man. Whatever.
I'm just saying, the level of detail was staggering.
It really was
staggering.
I think what Ralph's trying to say, it was a real hole-in-one when it comes to the aesthetics compared to maybe other games. But apart from that, no more golfing references. It is one of the most impressively amazing looking games.
Great language.
And it's not just people, like the actual environment itself, it just looks like there's smoky, gassy things coming out of buildings, and you look out and you see the sun setting, and it all just looks so... It looks next gen, man,
Totally.
in terms of how beautiful it looks, how much detail there is. You know, you're just walking around the streets, and everywhere you look, it just feels like this living, breathing city, and I'm literally blown away by that.
Yes, I totally agree. I mean, because we started, there's 3 different starter areas. One of them is corporate, and you're in this big sort of like Shinra Corp kind of
Yes.
thing. Another one is you're a nomad, and so you're out literally in the desert, by the way. Like, you're not in Night City, you're in the desert.
It looks like Smuggler's Run.
It looks
crazy, the contrast between one opening area and then in the actual city itself.
And there's another one where you're kind of like a street punk, and you're kind of in this really dingy bar, and everyone looks like a hooligan around you, and you're in the slum districts. All of these different spaces had environments that themselves were just so stunning, and just, I can't even with this game when it comes to its visual design. I can't even describe to you how much work has gone into every NPC, every item, every single space, and the way that those spaces have been lit. It's astounding to see it. And that's just from what we saw the first 5 hours.
Totally. And then off the back of that, in terms of interacting with those characters, talking to NPCs, the dialogue of it, it felt very real.
For sure.
I was really impressed with the voice acting that we've seen, and of course, this game is going to be very heavily focused on, talking, dialogue discussion, dialogue choices, and there is going to be a lot of dialogue choices that you do actually get to interact with in this game.
For sure.
So from what we've seen in that regard, before we get to story, just the actual NPCs and how they exist in that world, and the actual voice actors, it sounds also completely top-notch.
It really does. One thing I did notice about the world is that I don't think it's quite as populated as we saw in that initial trailer when you first stepped down. Because we actually played through that opening scene. You know that trailer where you get out of the lift and you got to go rescue the lady and she's in the bathtub, and then that trauma team comes along, and then, later on you go back to your apartment, you go downstairs, walk into the streets, drive around. We did all of that, okay? I will tell you that about, I would say 90% of what you saw in that trailer is what you saw in the game. The only difference is I think the streets are a tiny bit less populated in NPCs. That's it. Other than that, it's all there, man.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lie. It was like, that was the game. Like, it's just astounding
and
how well it ran, how well it looked.
And also, I was really expecting this because we've heard that it was going to be downgraded for Xbox or whatever, right? It's like, it just looked so utterly incredible, especially when you are driving around in that city.
Couldn't believe that.
Yeah, it just looked. I was like, we were both sitting there going, hang on a second, this looks like it's running at like 1 billion FPS.
Because we were playing on a 2080 Ti, by the way. PC build 2080 Ti 1080p resolution with RTX enabled, okay? And we had a rock solid 60 FPS at all times.
And it was increasing.
At minimum.
Yeah,
But it was more than that most of the time. While we were driving, I swear to God, the frame rate went up. I swear to God, it went up.
It was smoother than real life.
It was like at least 100 FPS when you were going through top speed in the city streets. And I was like, honestly, at that moment, I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
And the guy who was like there running the event that we were at, he was like coming over and like chuckling, like, yeah, I know, huh?
Yeah.
It was, I couldn't believe it ran as well as it did. This is astoundingly well optimized for, given the fact that it's not out till November. The graphical performance on this was just out of this world.
And he was also saying that VSync wasn't even turned on, so you were able to see slight change in the FPS, but I'm just really excited to see all that stuff implemented. Sure. It's going to be a rock solid 60 or 70 or 80 or FPS, whatever it is, going to be on the actual PC.
I do wonder how this is going to run on an Xbox One S. I really do. Like,
it's going to struggle big time.
Oh, man. What we saw today, how well it ran, I just wonder what compromises are going to be required to get this running on an Xbox One S.
Maybe it's going to be like 540p, 30 FPS, like Switch was.
Switch version or whatever. Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. Watch this space. As I said, from what I've played, I'm very confident in the quality of the PC port. I am concerned about how it will translate through to console.
Definitely. But look, aside from all that, the story. Now, this is going to be one hell of a game. We know it's going to be gigantic. They've already hinted at that, and seeing how they're setting this up, I do think this is going to be a big game. Having said that...
From CD Projekt Red? No.
Never.
That's a bit of a hot take, Sam. I don't know about that one.
Having said that, the story had quite a gusto to it. It just really was very quick to get you into the world. I was quite kind of taken back by... It didn't take any time at all. And I know we've only played 5 hours of this. Now, we can't make any actual conclusions of what the story's going to play out, or how quick or slow that burn's going to be. But I was quite taken back by to see there wasn't any time to chill. It was all just
no
like
time to chill.
Move.
Yeah, I would say, like, I think this is absolutely phenomenal so far, but I don't think it was perfect, and I definitely had some issues with it. And I would say the story pacing was one thing that I wasn't loving, because it kind of like really threw you in there super fast. And you were kind of like, it was a lot of new characters, really fast, a lot of techno babble, a lot of words being said without a lot of stuff being said, if that makes sense.
A lot of the time I was like, we just finished a mission, but I didn't get like, I didn't feel like I was really engaged in that because I just felt like it moved so fast.
I agree, and
You
look,
know?
and you can't judge this sort of thing
Again,
too early on. This is a 50, 60-hour experience. We've only experienced, 5 hours-ish. It really just felt like Cyberpunk 27. It was all about the business. That's what it felt
needed
like.
to chill a little bit,
Just a little bit.
especially when I think that it's trying to make such a gigantic, populated world. I really just want a bit more time to soak it in. You
I would
know?
say a good parallel is like Blade Runner, okay? Because this looks like Blade Runner in many regards, a lot more colorful, a lot more vibrant, but at the same time, Blade Runner really lets like things happen slowly. You soak it in very slowly. This feels like the opposite of that. Imagine something that kind of looks like Blade Runner and sort of like has that thing going on, but a totally different pace and tone. That's how I would describe it.
Definitely. Having said that, again, I'm excited to see how this unfolds. And not a spoiler really, but like these 3 characters that you do get to play, there's a bit of like a prologue with each character, then it all kind of finds its way to the same moment, then you continue on from that moment.
Sure.
I suspect maybe they were just trying to quicken that up so they can get to that moment, and maybe I'm hoping that it really does start slowing down after that. We did play a little bit after that, about 2 hours after all 3 stories kind of collide.
Yep.
But again, this is probably going to be a 60-hour game, and I'm just hoping there's a bit more space as it continues.
I'm sure there will be. I'm sure there will be.
But apart from that, we are looking also at the gunplay, and I was pleasantly, whatever, surprised about how good the actual mechanics felt with the guns.
Yeah, I think they actually felt fantastic.
Almost Destiny level. I really felt that. I was like, man, this feels good. Like,
yeah, I don't think it was that good, but I think it
Halo
was very
2
solid.
good at least.
It was very solid. I mean, we used a pistol, we used a assault rifle, machine gun kind of thing. There's melee, just like fisticuffs, whatever else. It had like 3-hit combos, and you could like block people, and if you blocked at the right time, it parried them. There was a sword which felt a little bit jank, to be honest with you. Look, overall, and there was a lot of auto aim in the combat, by the way, with the shooting. We actually asked if you could toggle that on and off. The CD Projekt Red person said yes, you can. I liked the feel of the auto aim, but it's really generous. I mean, like even Sam could hit targets, and if Sam could hit things with a controller, that there's a lot of auto aim kicked in.
I felt good actually.
Exactly right.
I was like, I'm getting the hang of this gaming thing.
But it felt great though overall, and I think a lot of people had concerns about weapon mechanics when they saw the second trailer for Cyberpunk, and I would say I don't have any of those concerns right now. These weapons felt exactly how I wanted them to feel, and I was very satisfied.
Having said that, I do feel like the melee and the sword is going to be a potential problem. The sword just felt like didn't feel tactile. It didn't feel like you were grabbing anything. Didn't feel like there was real mastery to that.
Sure.
Like it just felt like you can swing away and maybe it's going to be like a 1 or 2 hit kills or whatever.
Driving was great. We drove around the city in our little cool Lamborghini looking car. Turns out you can blow it up. We drove around for a really long time. That thing takes a hell of a lot of punishment, but eventually, after smashing it like 30 times, we eventually got it to explode. So that was good.
5 times as long to destroy it like in GTA.
Oh yeah, man.
Probably about 5 times.
It was a tank. But yeah, driving around the city, it felt beautiful. The developer actually asked us like, what do you think of the driving? And we're like, feels really good. And they're like, phew, really nervous about the driving. But for example, you play something like Ghost Recon Wildlands or Breakpoint, and you're like, whoa, dude, that sucks. That's not how a car should handle. And with this one, you're like, yes, that is it. You got it. You nailed it. Well done. So
definitely.
We can also jack other cars while we were riding around. We just shoot people in the head and take their cars and start driving, and that was fun.
Speaking of the jacking thing, there is a hacking mechanic. Now, you've already seen it, of course, in some of the extended play and also the trailers. We weren't blown away by that. I personally wasn't, especially because it just felt like, it was extremely hard to understand in the tutorial, and apparently we weren't the only ones that were saying that. Other people that had jumped on felt like it was a complete wig out, and by the time you actually got how to hack cameras or hack guards or like hack their grenades or something, it just didn't feel overly satisfying.
Sure.
So
I agree with that.
I'm just hoping that that was only the tutorial, but it becomes a bit more useful in the actual open world. And having said that, 5 hours of play, we didn't once use it because we didn't even get the chance to, or it just wasn't part of it yet.
I would say that the other thing I would say that we spent 5 hours playing, a lot of that was cutscenes. I think partly, with the way we've said that there's a lot of characters being thrown at you and stuff, a lot of that opening block is just sitting through cutscenes. And that I think was something that I reckon they could have sped up a little bit. You know, I mean, I would have liked the chance to be able to sort of jump into some action a bit faster. But look, regardless, you know, it was fine. As in, there's another 60 or 55 hours waiting for us out there. We're not going to want for opportunities to play this game and explore the world and whatever else. I would say that I had a very big problem with a mechanic they've introduced around like crime scenes. There's this one part of the thing I really did not enjoy. Okay, and it's basically like imagine watching Detroit. You know, Detroit has a thing where you can kind of see a crime scene or what happened in the past through like video surveillance or whatever else, and then while you're watching the scene unfold, you can zoom into certain things, play it back, rewind. Detroit did it really well, and it felt great. Here in Cyberpunk, I'm going to say that they have not done it well because I did 2 instances where it felt really clunky, really unclear, really slow, like just slow to get through it all. That was a real down moment for this demo for me.
And I wasn't sure because we were really frustrated by the end of it because we're just like, what the hell are we looking for? Like,
It was very unclear.
It's this weird thing where like you need to rewind to a certain moment where the camera and the person you're with gives you enough space to explore that particular ground around her, right?
Yeah.
It's only later that we figured out at the very top it kind of gives you clues and all that. So look,
it's so hard to explain it without really doing it. But basically there's 3 layers there's like visual and there's sound and there's also thermal. And you need to like watch this timeline across these 3 different layers and it's a head fuck. I would tell you that.
A big theme of that was tutorials weren't great in this, to be honest, because it was just very hard to understand what they were trying to get across. I know they got like 5 months or whatever to fully implement the way that they want to explain it.
Yep.
And I completely understand that it can be fundamentally different when this game comes out. Having said that...
So just to interrupt you, the developers did say they are aware that there are problems with the tutorials. Like CD Projekt Red have said, we know these are not quite good enough yet. We know people are having problems with these. We will change them. So it's not lost on them. They're on top of it already.
I think if it's in the pursuit of making some really complex ideas within the gameplay, then I get that they were really wanting to like aim for something. And I respect that. I just don't think that especially the crime scene stuff, I'm not looking forward to seeing more of that because it just felt like it really kind of got in the way of
I agree.
being interested in that particular quest. And I was going to say one more thing. In terms of the quest itself, there was a lot of side quests that we didn't even get a chance to do because we were not high enough. So we can't really talk about side quests at the moment. Having said that, it was obviously their intention to just make you do the main story for now.
Yeah, there was main story. There's open world quests, which are like so there are side quests, I should say, and then there's generic open world quests where it's like go to this place and something will happen, or hunt down this bounty target. So there's those 3 layers of quests that you're going to be able to complete. In terms of inventory, we picked up a few weapons that had different stats on them. They had different mod slots. The whole wardrobe thing, remember how in the trailer you could like pick items from a wardrobe, and that's not a feature anymore. That feature has been dropped and now you just equip clothes from your inventory, which I don't think is quite as fun. It's functional, it's important I guess, but I like the idea of going up to my wardrobe and pulling shit out. Hopefully they put that back in before launch, but we'll see.
Look,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But it did feel like it's a very customizable game. Like it really fits this kind of this type of game. Speaking of that, there is so much customizable stuff to do in the menus. I don't think I've ever seen a game where there's skill trees within skill trees. I know you said you may have come across it. I personally haven't. There is so many skill trees and things to equip and like stuff to like equip in your brain and like to like make you stronger or look further on.
Yeah.
And if you get a skill point and level up, you can level up your strength, for instance, called body. And then within that, there are multiple different additional skill trees and perks. Yeah. It feels like there was like 200 things or something.
The level of customization is absurd.
It's crazy,
it really
man.
is. It really is. Like, it's just wait till you see how many perks there are. Wait till you see how many mod types there are. It's really nuts. So,
speaking of customization, there's a lot that you can do physically. I was surprised.
There's a lot you can do physically.
There's some stuff downstairs. We saw
the dong slider.
Okay.
We saw the different sizes.
And we
saw cut uncut.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
all the way. You can go all the way to tiny. And let me tell you, if that's what they think tiny is, they haven't seen tiny. All right, trust me on that. No, but look, there's so much love and care to this game.
Sure.
Although we did have a few
minor issues.
A few minor issues, and I do think that you cannot judge a game like this until it comes out.
For sure.
I do think this has a huge amount of love and care, and the detail and the time they've spent on it. They really care about this, and you can really feel it. I
mean, I can't imagine. This was some of the densest 5 hours I've played in any game ever. Just the raw density of this 5 hours between 3 different starting quests that were all so different and had such incredible production value, different locations, different characters, different everything, going into this incredible city that was so alive and massive and just so detailed. Every single NPC you bumped into, you just had to stop and take a screenshot of them because they were so like nuts.
Yep.
I mean, you know, there was just so much dialogue coming at you. As I said, I think probably maybe a little bit too much, but even then it's like just so much stuff, and I just can't imagine what it would be like to experience 60 hours of this
Yep.
and unpack it and just wrap your head around it and pick it apart and just tick everything off the list. And it's gonna be I think it's gonna be nuts. You can't say obviously until you get it in your hands, it's out and you played this through the whole thing. But all I can say is that it looks like an incredibly ambitious product. I had a real blast playing it for 5 hours, and I cannot fucking wait to play like the rest of it.
You can tell why they really needed to like put off the whole multiplayer thing.
Oh,
Like, when
yeah,
you
man.
get a hold of this, it's just like I honestly feel like it's actually raised the bar in terms of just populating a world and making it feel realized.
For sure.
So I am excited to see what they do. And
You just want to hang out in this world. Like, I just
Totally,
wish these
yeah.
places, these bars, these malls, these streets were around somewhere so I could go and hang out in them. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, guys, that's Cyberpunk 2077. We played it. We got the jumpers to prove it.
And we're fitting in them.
And they fit perfectly.
We do fit in them.
Send your dietary tips in the comments below.
need them.
If you have questions, let us know. We'll try and answer them maybe during Layman Live. We might do a bit of a live stream Q&A block.
that's a good idea.
Maybe. And we love you all. Thank you very much, CD Projekt Red, for inviting us. And Layman out.
I'm ready, sir, for my recording, sir.
Sam, you seem different.
What do you mean, sir? I've just been watching plenty of Evangelion.
You know there's more than one anime than Evangelion, you boomer. Don't worry, Sam. I've got something that can cheer you up.
What is it, sir?
Boxu!
Nice, sir. Boxu is the only Japanese snack box that partners with 100-plus-year-old family snack makers to deliver Japanese exclusive snacks to your door.
You can order an individual box, single month or multi-month subscriptions starting at $24.99 per box.
Okay, Ralph, try this. Trust me on this.
Is it like,
Try this, baby.
would you say it's a loot box of food, Sam?
It's definitely a loot box, but the good kind of loot box.
good kind of
everybody.
loot box of food.
Okay, try this.
That's good. Actually, give me more.
Okay. He's like,
Continue.
that is good. Thank you.
I want to keep eating these.
What's inside the box, people? Okay, you get 20 to 25 classic.
What's in the box?
What's in the box? 20 to 25 classic or 10 to 14 tasting Japanese snacks, candies, and tea pairing curated around a fun cultural theme.
Guys, if you're Japanese, please tell me what this is so I can order more of them.
We would like to order more.
I need more of whatever these are now.
You
okay?
also get a 20-plus page cultural guide magazine that details each product's origin, flavors, and even common allergens.
Right,
You
so I
know
can look
that.
it up. I can look it up in the booklet.
That is important.
Well, I don't need your help now. Thank you anyway, Japanese people. I appreciate you.
And also, which is pretty cool, it's free worldwide shipping from Japan, plus free tracking to over 40 countries. So guys, click on the link below. It is really fantastic food. Check it out, and you get 10% off. You save up to $44 dudes, actually, if you use the Layman link. Thank you so much, Boxu, for sponsoring the video. We'll see you guys next time. Layman out, Sue.
Best integration I've ever done.